I'm opening Freedman Bank today.
Yeah, and these are the steps to make it work.
I totally agree. Be that bank.
Eric, so you know how we're always talking about being financially free through real estate?
I do.
Well, today we have Curtis May, who is like the expert at financial freedom.
Okay, can't wait to hear it.
He is the host of the Practical Wealth Show podcast and the creator and owner of Practical Wealth Advisors. So, welcome, Curtis.
Welcome, Curtis. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Curtis, I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you make people financially free.
Okay. So my name is Curtis May, and I'm the host of the Practical Wealth Show podcast and the principal of Practical Wealth Solutions, my firm. And what I do is a little bit different. I view finances differently. So I teach something called principles-based planning, which we'll get into. But the main tact is that, you know how most people think the key to growing their wealth is investing, to find better investments that pay a higher rate of return?
Yes.
Okay.
In general. So the Wall Street's dirty little secret is that their goal for you, if you're that's why your people are perfect for what you're trying to teach them how to do, because you can't accumulate your way to financial freedom. Okay. And so the only way to make money in the typical financial world is to take more risk.
Agreed.
And so risk doesn't mean opportunity for gain like they spin it. It means probability of loss.
Okay.
Right. So so I teach the opposite. So I think there is more opportunity in helping our clients minimize the losses in their life than it is try to pick winning investments. Right.
Okay.
So what we do is we call them wealth transfers. A transfer means you're moving money from your balance sheet to somebody else's. That's a wealth transfer.
That's a bad thing.
And so, you know, and so what happens is if you got a bucket, it's got holes in it, before you turn up the volume, try to chase returns and make more money, let's plug the holes.
Plug those holes.
Get rid of that boat. Get rid of that extra car.
You don't want to drive.
I mean, but it's stuff that we call it, they're unseen, right? So things like how people, I'll give you 5 real quick and then we'll go into it. But the 5 wealth transfers that we 6, how people manage cash flow or don't manage cash flow.
Yeah, that's more like it.
All right. Especially your new investors where they don't separate their business and their personal expenses, that, you know, that money lies falls through the crack there.
Sure.
How people pay mortgages, taxes, how they fund qualified plans, how they pay for educational expenses, and how they finance things. We call it major capital purchases. So there's more money lost in those 6 things than you'll ever make trying to pick winning investments. And so as you start your investing journey, you've got to understand what I call financial physics. You need to know how money works.
So how are we losing money in one of those things? Are you talking about late payment fees or interest payments? Because
that too, but so late payment fees is a result of what? Bad cash flow management.
Right.
Can you give an example, like a real life world example?
When you don't pay your credit card on time, Noel, you get a
I
fee.
understand late fees. I mean of the other things, like what he's talking about.
All right, so let's talk about the fee thing first, right?
Okay.
So I had and cash flow. So I had a client, we're going over their cash flow, and I'm looking at their pay set going, all right, why are y'all so broke, right? Because he was making he was a lineman or electric company. He was making like 80, 90 grand a year.
Okay.
Wife works at household income of 130,000. So I'm like, why do you not have any money? Because I'm looking at this high gross revenue and I'm looking at this low take home. And so I'm looking at I ask him, so in my mind, I'm going through the checklist, you know, mortgage, taxes, you know. So taxes. I said, wait, do you get a refund? He goes, yes. I said, well, how much? $12,000. I almost fell out. I was like, what, are you crazy? And so he was doing an extra withholding. So 90% to the IRS, 90% of people have their withholding, if you're an employee still, done incorrectly. And you don't match it up. So you can get involved in something called income shifting. So a lot of times, if you all guys are investors, you're in business, right? You have a place where you set up, you do your accounting, you're looking at properties. You've got to be in business. The tax code is designed for landowners and business owners, right? And so you got to understand to play that game and work. But with this guy, we looked at his reduction. I said, look, this is like years ago. They made it harder to figure out now. But if you go to irs.gov, I said, go to your withholding calculator. And I said, you're getting back 12. I said, look, I'm not going to kill all your joy. How about you get back like 2,000 too much?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
For my taste, because it's a refund, meaning it's your money again.
Right.
And so I adjusted that. So that put 10,000, that's $800 a month back in his budget. Because so here's the problem with that. Let's go back into spending. Because he was having too much money withheld, he had, I want to say $800 in overdraft fees.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So there's the money right there in the
Right.
withholding.
Okay. Then he had, then he was putting the shortfall on credit cards. He had $5,000 or $6,000 of credit card bills at 23, 28%. And so a transfer, meaning if you pay debt to others that you didn't have to pay, that is a wealth transfer from your balance sheet to the credit card's balance sheet.
And we want to keep it on our balance sheet.
Yes. Once money hits your asset column, to quote Kiyosaki, you never want to let it leave.
I
Right.
love Robert. Yep. No, that makes a total sense. And I'm big fan of not putting my withholding, keeping it as low as possible for anything when I'm not self-employed. But a lot of people don't understand that. I think that was built out for the government. I think if people didn't have withholding, then they wouldn't be able to pay their taxes. So, but you obviously could see that opportunity where someone's getting a $12,000 refund. That's letting the government use their money instead of them use their money.
Yeah, so I look at all of their stuff, right? So because if you want to create maximum wealth, you have to create maximum efficiency first.
How can our viewers look at what's coming in and coming out and find those holes? What's the best way to find those holes? I want to stop my boat from sinking.
Somebody that's trained to look at the holes like me. No, but,
go.
but let's
Where
go.
can they start?
Right. So because here, so I'll throw out a recommendation. I teach a variation of this, but like profit first,
Okay.
or in profit first for real estate investors, but start with profit first. But you've got to learn how to segment your cash flow, right? Separate personal from business. You know, I want people to figure out what their life costs so that, you know, because your goal, why are you doing real estate? So you got to begin with the end in mind, right? And so the framework and what I teach guys is, so I teach financial principles that help our clients become and remain financially free. Okay. Principles drive strategy.
Makes sense.
Strategy drives tactics. So it's like a 3-part process. And part of the strategy is finding money you're losing unknowingly, unnecessarily. And then we go into this later, but that's not what this call is about. But I teach people how to be the bank using, whole life insurance. And we use that as a cash flow management system. And so most of our clients are real estate investors, and we use that to keep once money hits your asset column, you don't want to ever let it leave. But that's a strategy. What precedes the strategy are the principles, right? So this is what I do a talk at real estate conferences. What do we call it? Master your money now to master real estate later. Okay. So we start with, what's the first principle? First principle, and some of this is Raul, the richest man in Babylon, save.
Okay.
Save money.
Save what?
and
Save
invest.
15% of your gross income.
Okay.
Save 15% from the job.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If you're in business, 15% of your gross, you should save 20% of your profits off of your rentals. Part of all you earn is yours to keep. So you have to adopt that, right? Because people want to plow money back into their thing. No, you have to you need liquidity. So if you don't have 3 months, 6 months, I teach 6 to 12 months of liquidity, which is my 4th principle. But your goal is to be liquid. Your first 90 days is your emergency fund, and everything above that is your opportunity fund. Think about COVID. Because financial planning is not about investing. Financial planning is about provisioning and preparing, because I was very encouraged. Stuff happens. Right? So during COVID, the government made it legal for your tenants not to pay you.
That was horrible. I remember those days.
If you didn't have conscientious tenants, or if you didn't have liquidity, you were SOL.
Yep.
So you got to build that. You got to think that, you can't have a plan that works, because see, your financial plan, meaning what do you want and why, precedes the business plan or the investment plan. So that's the number one mistake I see big real estate investors who I work with a lot and newbies make. They don't really know what they're trying to accomplish, and what is your financial freedom number? What does that look like? What is it your life costs? How much, how many properties do you? One of the things I do, so I'll coach in like these groups and I'll say, well, what are you trying to do? I want to buy real estate. Okay, for what? Well, what is it takes for you to become financially financially free? Well, I need $10,000 a month. Okay, well, what type are you buying, and how much is your net profit per door, and then how many of those doors do you need, and what's the time frame?
So I like that you said separate the personal expenses from the business expenses, so it really gives people a handle on what they're actually spending.
Right.
I think a lot of new investors just lump everything together, and then you don't know what you're making.
You don't know what you're making.
Yeah.
See, the financial literacy is accounting. Okay. And so the numbers tell a story. So because what people do, so you got all these gurus, get business credit, right? And so they'll get business credit so they can, lines of credit so they can buy more property. But what they don't do is they just commingle it. Like, you've got to separate it so that you're keeping the business honest. Is this, because otherwise you're subsidizing it out of your lifestyle, out of your household income, which is all right for a season, but the business has to take care of itself. So you got to make, are you profitable? Are you cash flowing? And is it paying the debt? Because it's all right. You're not trying to get out of debt. You're trying to use leverage so you can buy more property. Rich people use debt as money, right? So you're trying to get into more debt, but you want to buy assets. What's the assets? Something to put money in your pocket.
Makes sense.
Eric says that all the time.
It's all about the cash flow. So that's what I'm excited that.
All about the cash flow. See, I don't focus on assets under management. We focus on cash flow. You can't eat equity.
Right.
That's a good point.
There's another waste. Sending 15-year loans, because everybody wants to want to get out of debt so I can get auto rent. Paying extra on the mortgage.
Horrible. Don't do it.
That's all a complete waste of money in this environment.
Well,
He's right.
You talked about debt. And how do you feel about David Ramsey's advice to buy your real estate using cash? Is that what we should be doing?
Ooh, just say no. It's okay. No. Just say no to drugs.
Just say no to
right. That's first of all, in order to pay cash, you got to have cash.
Well, that's true.
So if you go by his strategy, you'll never buy anything because you'll have to save up $500,000 before you can buy it.
Well, it is worse than that, right? So, see, one of the things I teach is we teach people, look, you finance everything you buy, right? So when you pay cash, you financed it.
True.
So when you put your cash, then you're giving up interest you could be earning. See, because here's the thing that real estate investors don't get a lot of times. This is what I mean by financial figures. You don't understand opportunity costs, like the loss of money at interest. Okay, so if you put $50,000 in a property, well, let's talk about that. What's the rate of return on equity? 0.
Okay.
The house will appreciate, but equity has a 0 rate of return.
Okay. Got it. Right? Mm-hmm.
So now, what if you could have earned? You could use some other people's money, but if you could get, I'm just going to make up a number, 6% on your money.
Okay.
Right? People use the rule of 72. Take your money interest rate and divided by 72. It'll tell you how long it'll take your money to double. Like, people will use this in conjunction with mutual funds, which is a half truth, right? Because mutual funds don't earn compound interest. They go up, they go down. They appreciate, they depreciate. Mm-hmm. But it's a good way to look at velocity of money. So if you say, well, look, I got 50,000 and I could get 6% over here, that means that 50,000 will double every 12 years. So if you tie it up in the house, that means in 12 years, your 50 is worth 100. And then in 12 more years, your 100 worth 200, your 200 worth 400. So when you give that $50,000, you not only lost the 50, you lost the money, the opportunity cost of the money spiraling out infinitely.
Yep.
So most people that are business owners, they're giving away $3 to $7 million of money opportunity cost that they could have. What I do is I ask Mr. Client if I could bring back that $3 million. Would that be a conversation you'd like to have? You know,
and they
I
all
don't know
say
if I
yes.
can or not, but
Right, you
you're
plug
rooting.
that-
I'm sure they're rooting for me, right, to
No.
see if how much I can bring back.
Yeah, Noelle, you gave away probably $7 million last year. How do you feel?
I feel very bad about that. but
So I
Yeah.
said, look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just gonna help you identify them.
maybe I need to take a trip to you. So you said something, velocity of money. And I mean, I just see my money flying. So when you say that word, but what is velocity of money?
So velocity of money is just an economic principle, right? So money's got to move, right? So if you look at so the Burr method,
Love the Burr method.
that's velocity of money in real estate.
Just so our viewers know, but they should know, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat.
There you go.
So we're taught if you see, because what happens is if you're coming out, like you got to get, first of all, let's go back to your original statement. You got to get your mind out of Dave Ramsey land, okay, and Susie Orman land and David Bachlet. That advice is for consumers, people, W-2 people, not consumers. Well, consumers, but W-2 people and broke people. Okay.
You don't want to be either.
Right. So I don't think you want to do that, right? So you got to go into the land of Rich Dad, his advisors.
Yep.
You gotta look at money differently. So you gotta let go of that consumer mindset and understand how money works. Okay. And so velocity, so we call it so here's the difference, right? So there's the accumulation theory, buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, buy term investor difference, max out your 401k. Then you'll have real estate investors putting money in SEP IRAs. I'm gonna get a solar 401k so I can borrow against that. I mean, why would you do that? Well, I'm gonna buy real estate so I'm probably gonna step on some toes. I probably have.
No, we like that.
Go ahead, stop.
So, I'm gonna get a solar 401k or I'm gonna get a self-directed IRA so I can buy real estate.
Yeah, just buy it without the IRA. What do you need the IRA for?
Right. Yeah, because and so I was at a conference with Tom Wheelwright. He says, listen, why would you do that? Right? Why would you take a tax favored asset and put it inside of a tax deferred asset? So you get maybe the growth in your Roth, but you lose all of the deductions that the real estate affords you because you're listening, you got mixed messages. So they're selling you a product because they make money selling the self-directed IRAs. So they got to give you something to do. And you know that most of their capital is in that, but it's not a good use of your capital. It's not the most efficient way to use your money.
I love my deductions. I love my depreciation deduction specifically. I mean,
what's the reason? That's the reason.
You can take it right off your salary. Whatever you're bringing in, you take it right off, and you.
Yeah,
you
I
pay
like
nothing.
self-directed for certain things. Notes. I've got clients that we've got notes. They do private lending,
Right.
Syndications might work, for that if you got a lot of money there. But the real estate, I think
It could be good for diversification for people. If you have so much money out there, you put it in different places. But I think for investors that are really starting off, they need to go direct.
Yeah, well, what does Buffett say? Buffett says diversification is for people that don't know what they're doing.
There you go. Good point. We love Mr. Buffett.
So what happens is, here's the thing. This will be good for your list. So understanding investing is not about buying something. It's about becoming something.
I like that.
Right. You have to become a real estate investor. Becoming takes work. Becoming takes study. You don't just, it's not as simple as let me put $200 a month in an Acorn account. Like you got to learn how to be and most of that's mental. You got to learn how to handle numbers. You've got to learn how to negotiate with people. You have to become. It's work. That's why most people are broke, because they don't want to become. They just want somebody
to do it for them.
For them, right?
Yeah.
And see, so when I come over to velocity, let me go back. So we teach the velocity method. So let's go. So I still remember the original question.
There you go.
The velocity is sort of Burr method, moving money through assets, right? So if you look at Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful always wants to know, if I put this $500,000 in your deal, what does he want to know? How soon am I getting my money back?
Right.
So now he still has money in the deal, but now when he's got his money back, first his risk is zero because he's got all his capital back.
Right.
That's why you want to buy assets to generate cash flow, because as you get your money back, your risk is coming down. But what do you do with the money? You find another place to deploy your capital.
Yeah.
And you get that back. And that's velocity. So that's the game y'all have to learn how to play. So it's velocity, is leverage, is risk management. You want to buy you know, you got to play defense. You get homeowners insurance, you get umbrella policy. People say, oh, I got, you know, 5 LLCs. Emphasis on limited liability company. I had a client, she had like $3 million worth of real estate with like 120,000 cash flow and like 5 entities. And I take people with a little chart where we look at their protection. I said, well, do you have liability coverage? She goes, what's that? And I said, well, I have these LLCs. I said, listen, your first line defense is not the LLC, it's insurance. Okay. So even if y'all are first, you got your first 1 or 2 properties in your own name, you can get a $1 million umbrella liability coverage from your PNC person for like $400 or $500 a year. And so if somebody falls on one of your property, you send that to your insurance company,
Right.
let their high paid lawyers go to work for you, and you keep it moving.
Agreed, 100%.
Yep.
That's why you have insurance.
We talk a
Makes
lot
sense.
about insurance, and it seems like a very unsexy thing to talk about, but when something happens, it becomes very sexy.
Listen, Kurt. I am the defensive coordinator, right? I'm kind of like a macro manager of all of our client stuff, but defense is save, right? Defense is we call our second principle is maximum protection. So you got to look at all your stuff. You got to protect your stuff. You got to protect your income. You got to protect your life. You need wills and trusts. So a lot of people, when I look at their stuff, they have gaps. Even if they're really good at making money, they're exposed to risk, to death, to lawsuits because they don't have a holistic person looking at their entire personal economy. Are you leaving a legacy? Do you
generational wealth?
Generational wealth. So that's a combination of insurance and trust and this and that. And, you got to learn how to get the right stuff. There's an order or context of when you do stuff. There's 6 to 12 months of liquidity. That's my 4th principle. Whereas 3 months is your emergency fund, but everything above that is your opportunity fund to use. And I don't say you need to use your money. So we put it in a position where you can collateralize it. And I want people to be able to position to borrow out of what do we call it? Opportunity and not necessity, meaning that you have money, but you got enough money you can decide to only use my money or
someone else's.
And the bank will give you money when you and the bank likes to give money to people like that.
Yeah, I want people to be in a position of strength. In my 5th principle is velocity. So we focus on velocity, which is cash flow, right? You want to buy cash flowing assets because your goal, we call it getting to a position of FU, but which is passive income at least twice your expenses.
Florida
you want to be in a
University.
power position, right?
Absolutely.
The clients that find me, their goal is work optional income. And so that's what we talk about.
So what is your cash flow mapping? I want to know, how do I map my cash flow?
Yeah, so we take people through a program where we separate into, so real quick, we basically sort out their accounts. So what most people do are they're trained to budget, or if you're in business, they look at their P&L. Most people don't even do that, right? So we have a tagline: you want to tell your money where to go instead of asking where it went. So let's say, for example, on the I'll just do on the personal side. We have time. I'll go back into the business side. But on the personal side, when you get paid, you should have an account that your income goes in. So I'm should have 4 accounts, right? So income account, every pay goes into there. Then we teach our clients to set up a wealth coordination account or a wealth capture account, and I want you to take 15% of your gross income, and I want that automatically going into this wealth capture account. So if you make 100 grand, that's 15,000 divided by 26 is 574 pay.
Okay.
Go right into that account. Okay. That will change your life, guys. If you're hearing me and you just do that, because your savings can't be an afterthought. It's got to be automatic and systematic, and it's got to happen unconsciously. Okay. So then the second account we set up is you got to have a fixed bill account, right? So you have certain bills that are static, right?
Mortgage.
Yeah. So you want to know what your life cost, your mortgage, your subscriptions, your
cars,
your utilities, your car payments. So debt, so we look at their debt, and I'll have a deep dive where I go into debt elimination, but all that, you got your fixed bills, and then after you pay yourself, and then after your fixed bills, we teach them to set up another account called their variable account. Right?
Is that the fun one? That's the fun account where you can play with.
Fun account. Well, it's
Okay.
things that are fun is in there. So, but it could be gas, groceries.
Oh,
So
okay.
listen, you can save 15% of your income. I don't care what you do the rest of it. And you're paying all your bills.
Right.
You're saving because you can't scrimp your way to financial freedom.
Sure,
like I'm not the party pooper, right? Because there's three types of money, right? There's accumulated money, there's lifestyle money. Nobody's trying to live a lesser life. So that's what I told you. I'm not I want you to go on vacation.
Go to Disney World.
Right.
Go to Europe.
Listen, if you're in business, if you don't, I stole this from Dan Sullivan. If you can't double your income until you double your time off.
Got it. You got to recharge.
I like that.
Recharge, right? Who motivates the motivator?
Yep.
And then there's transfers, right? So if you can, so what you do is you got to sort it because you have to manage your cash flow. And now because what people do is they're budging, right? Budging is like driving a car looking through a rearview mirror. Because you're looking at history, right? You're looking at what happened. It's just too late. So when money comes in, we just teach to assign a job. Okay, you got certain fixed bills. Those are static. You've paid yourself. The purpose of the wealth capture is for you to have capital to buy or build assets. Or look good so that you can get other people's money, right? So you gotta, but you gotta look good. You gotta pay your bills on time. You gotta have your debt ratio good to be able to qualify for other people's money. And then we just show people how to manage that. And then a lot of times when we do it with people, we find out that I just got off the phone with. It was like, okay, you've got $600 available for variable money, but you're actually spending $1,300 a month, right? So it's like, okay, well.
So what I'm hearing is when you say cash flow mapping, you want everything to have its own place. Like when you're cleaning up, everything has its own place. So you put the money that goes to one thing in one account, separate it out so you know where things are going and how much you actually have left.
Yeah, but only 3 accounts because see the problem is that people put their money in little silos, little compartments. That's a problem. See, that causes wealth transfers, right? Because people do is they tie up money. So they're putting money in a SEP. So I got 20 grand a year in a SEP or their 401k. So now you've just put money in jail for 20 years.
Don't jail your money.
And you got money in 529 plans. And then, so you've got all this money in different silos that are just single-use products, which I can't stand. Money for college, and so what you want to do is you need to have what we do is we teach how to integrate a strategy so you can use all your money all the time and still have it working because you can create velocity through simultaneous use.
Okay.
Right? Where we use permanent insurance strategies to teach people the strategy of being the bank in your life, which is just creating a pool of capital that you control. It's really a money management system.
So let me ask you a question. How did you get into this field? Obviously, you're at least 30 years old. So
not a day over 29.
When did you start?
That's what my mother says. I'm taking that line. Yeah.
Did you have like an awakening one day, or were you looking at people that were not being successful and you wanted to share your success? How did you get started?
Yeah, it's funny. I had an awakening. Okay. Right. So I was like Saul from Tarsus, right? So so I started in college, right? So I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards with a handle. So I'm barely on the team. My family always been self-employed. So I thought you majored in business to go into business. And then, so I was always looking for little hustles to do. And then I realized this whole NBA thing is not going to work out. I need a new dream.
Okay.
Somebody sent me a check for $400. It was made for hours worth of work. And I got it turned out to be this insurance part-time multi-level thing. And so I did that, but I ended up doing that for 13 years. So people say, how long have you been in business? 35 years, but I had 1 year experience like 15 times, right? Because I was like Dave Ramsey on steroids. So I was doing that, buy term investor difference, max out your 401k. I was evangelical about all that stuff, right? Okay. But I lived through 3 crashes. And then I got a hold of a little purple book called 2 books that really changed my direction. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep. Of course.
My favorite book.
Yep. And the whole series, like especially the first 4, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cashflow Project. My favorite is Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. And the 4th book, Who Took My Money.
Okay.
Start to understand velocity. So, and then, and then Become Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. So those books changed my life because it's not the books, it's the books, because I didn't understand it all, but I'm a nerd, right? So when I read the book, I read the bibliography of the book because I want to see what they're reading. So then I got into Austrian economics and economics in one lesson, A Creature from Jekyll Island, and Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And so because I wanted to know why crashes happen. Because I lived through 4 crashes, and then as I started to understand Austrian economics, I said, okay, well, these crashes are being caused by distortions by the Federal Reserve, right? And so I just got into that stuff and like, well, now what do I do with this stuff? And then I just started to back into. I basically teach people. Somebody was asking me what I do, and it says, you kind of teach people. I basically take the Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I can put it into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 step. Here's what you do to get started with that. And so I basically teach people how to be rich dad.
You simplify, you give people the person to talk to.
Do you think a crash is coming? And I love putting, the crystal ball out. So tell us from your crystal ball, is a crash coming? Is the sky falling Chicken Little?
I mean, I don't have a working crystal ball. So I don't predict. I always think a crash is coming, right?
Okay.
But because I think financial planning is about preparation,
yes, be prepared.
right? Mm-hmm. So the question is.
So you're a prepper.
I'm a baby doomsday prepper. But what happens is, so as a basketball player, I always say, I have a video somewhere on YouTube where I was playing ball. I say the financial plan is like getting a good defensive stance, right? So you can't, because I'm coach basketball now. I say, look, I have this girl, they stand up. I said, look, if you stand up, you're already beat because you have to get back down in your defensive stance. So you have to be knees bent, hands out, right? So if they go this way, you can slide and cut them off. They go that way. So you have to be that way with your money. If rates go up, what do you do? If rates go down, what do you do? If somebody sues you, are you protected? What are you doing to generate new money? So I don't care who's in office. See, because you can't control the economy, but what can you control?
Your response.
Personal economy, right? Which is your production and consumption as a family unit. So you got to know what's going on. If you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. So I don't really deal in predictions. I just want people when you do planning, your plan has to work no matter what. Yep. Downs, it can't just work if the markets are up because markets are going, interest rates are high.
Sure.
Should you still be buying real estate? Yes.
Good point. Your plan has to work all the time.
Yeah.
When do you make adjustments to that plan?
It's a living it's a living thought, right?
Yeah, you always make it. Listen, a plane is off course from the time it takes off, right? So all the time, right? We do quarterly calibration meetings with our clients, right? So it's like,
calibration. I like that.
Where you at? How you doing? What's the target, right? Because you got to have I try to get them to set 1-year targets with 90-day, what do we call them? Outcomes, right? Like, what are you doing? How many properties are you looking at? Depending on what your goal is, and you set goals. And I use my operating system just to help if you want to because I'm very process oriented, right? So the 12-week year is my operating system.
A 12-week year.
12-week year, and so how to get more done in 12 weeks than most people get done all year. And so my first year ends March 31st. So I've got serious goals for the quarter, which you would call a quarter is my year. And then I'm planning for year 2.
Okay.
So I use that when I say I want to go on one vacation a year. Well, I have 4 years. So I'm trying to go on vacation every quarter.
Love it.
I think we should plan. We should do a 12-week year. I love that. Let's sit down.
What do you do the other 40 weeks?
No, meaning it keeps on repeating. There are 4 years in a year. I get it. I'm with you, Curtis.
Yeah, because your people need so for example, let's talk about your listeners. So, and I don't, I think I have this book on my page. I have on my website. I have a recommended reading page. But the 12-week year, because the hardest time, if let's say you're working and you're trying to become a full-time real estate investor.
Right.
What you have to learn is, most people are work processors. They go to work, people tell them what to do, they do it, and they get the check. Okay. When you go into business for yourself, you live in a performance economy now. So you have to learn how to be a work creator. So that part of when that's part of the becoming part. You've got to learn how to do the stuff without people telling you what to do. And so a lot of people, that's a transition for them.
Okay.
You know, they're out of work. They don't know they'll spend money on all these coaching programs. But I'm like, well, what did you do? You spent 30 grand for this thing and you haven't bought a thing yet. You haven't made any offers yet. What are you doing?
They probably didn't even read it yet.
Yeah.
So you're like an account.
I'm like their accountability partner.
There you go. That's the word that was coming out of my mouth. I love that. I think people today, no matter what level you're on, whether you're a successful investor, whether you're a first timer, you need accountability partners. I think that's a key takeaway here. Accountability.
I agree.
Two coach. I have a marketing coach. I'm ready to hire a $25,000 coach to help me in my planning business. Cause I always, you always I just got back from a conference and you always have to, what I call work on your game or sharpen the saw. That's the other thing, because you gotta, I always try to be in rooms where I'm the brokest, dumbest person there.
Okay.
Love that. You can always learn no matter where you
You
are.
never want to be the smartest person.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
You need a new room because
Yep.
You've graduated. So I'm going to ask you something that's always a fight here on this stage. Stocks versus real estate. What is the best investment to get into in 2024? And I hope you say real estate, but stocks versus real estate.
Well, it depends on the person. Okay. I don't view stock market investing, especially the way it's taught as investing. I view it as speculating.
Okay.
Gambling.
Right. Here's Warren Buffett's mentor, Benjamin Graham, defined in his book, The Intelligent Investor. He says an investment is something where you put your capital, where you have safety of principal.
Okay.
And you have a reasonable opportunity to make a profit.
So it means you won't lose your investment money, you won't lose your shirt, and hopefully you'll get more back.
50,000. Right. You're supposed to at least get the principal back.
Right.
You have a reasonable opportunity to make a profit. He says upon thorough analysis. That's the other thing people don't do. They don't, analysis, right? But he says, but if it doesn't, you're supposed to make a profit. Get your money back with a reasonable opportunity to make a profit. It doesn't fit that definition. You are speculating or gambling.
So you've already answered. You said real estate, because in real estate you always get your money back, basically, right?
Here's the other thing. So real estate, you get leverage, right? So if you want $100,000 of stock, you need $100,000.
Good point.
Right? But if you want $100,000 for real estate, what do you need?
20%, 25%.
At worst case, right? You don't know what you're doing. But the true answer is it depends.
Yep.
Right.
3% for
But
an
it's
FHA loan.
right, but it's not 100. It's not 100 grand.
Capital, you could do. Most of my clients do infinite returns because they either raise money and get the rest of the money. They will. I have clients, like, let's say they buy a property and we'll use their permanent insurance. They'll store cash there, so they'll borrow $25,000 against their insurance, which means they're borrowing the insurance company's money. Their money's still in there earning interest, and then they get the mortgage for the rest of the property. What's that? And they cash flow. That's infinite return because you don't have any money in the deal.
There you go. Those are the
I like that.
So that's kind of stuff I specialize. We just think about that. And a lot of people, what I do is I give them permission to understand that you are your best financial advisor. See, because 2 + 2 is 4. It's not that deep.
So what are those 4 components of an ideal financial plan?
So the first one is I'll give you 4 that we could break it down a little bit. But you got to build. It's got to build maximum wealth, and because you want to be able to. Well, and wealth is not just money. Like, you want to, enjoy your life, but because what they do is they focus on a number, right? I need $2 million. No, you need, it's really should be focused in cash flow. What do I need to live the life I want? So you can't, like I said, you can't eat equity. 2, you want to be able to enjoy all and utilize all the wealth that you created. Like, success is a journey. It's not a destination. So I'm not waiting until 65 or whatever for the money, right? The third thing it must do is to transfer the wealth to your family intact or charities that are important to you.
Okay.
Plan must do that. And the fourth plan, it's got to work under all circumstances. So you have to stress test it so that it works. So it works if market's up. So I have a client I just interviewed last week on my 2 weeks ago on my show, and she says, listen, right now, she says, I said, it's still good to buy. She goes, yes. Her name was Camille. And I said, well, what she does is she's still finding deals and she stress tests them at like 10% or something like that. And so if they work at 9-10%, because she doesn't see rates going down anytime, then she buys them. If she can get it and she can make it cash flow, and the rate may come out lower, but if she stress tests her cash flow at 10,
it's only upward from there.
Right.
yeah. So that's the physics. So those are the four things, and so we work with people, does it work? Are you protected yourself? Are you living the best life you can today? And we want to become financially free, which is a capability, not retirement. Retirement means to put out of use, right?
Yes.
To withdraw, to put out of use. We don't try to use that word here, practical wealth.
So, last words. What do you want our real estate investor viewers to walk away with today?
I want you to walk away with that. Listen, you can win this game. You have to invest in becoming a real investor, right? In controlling your money. And I want you to walk away that you need to have a reason why you're doing this. What are you trying to do? What do you want your family to look like? And you want to think through that, and then you want to try to work with somebody that can give you like a coordinated action plan, like a financial plan designed for the investor or the business owner, where it's designed to not tie your money up for 30 years. Like, you want to put money out, you got to put it somewhere where it comes back so you can go buy more assets, not tie it up. And so that's what I want you to do. I want you to think about what you want, why you're doing this. And then I want you to just work at getting good and take action.
Love it.
Before we go, I want to let all of the viewers know that they can write in the comment box and we will get you their questions so we can answer them. But where can they find you after they like, comment, and subscribe?
So I'll give you all the links, but one thing I'll give you I have cause I'm big on liquidity, right? So I have a free report if they'll text, what is the number? If they'll text BETHEBANK, all one word, B capitals, BETHEBANK to 55444, and we'll send that report out to them. If they go to my website, practicalwealth.net, and then I would go to my YouTube channel, look for at Curtis May, or search for the Practical Wealth Show podcast, and then that's the best way to get to know the madness that is Curtis, I call it. So, because, I've said probably some radical things for some of your new people's sensibility. Older people are like, yeah, that makes sense.
We want the madness, Curtis. We love madness here on the Real Estate Mechanic.
Yeah, listen, there's the so I want people to, go there and you're like, all right, kind of makes sense. All right, let me reach out to them, because I want people to listen. Because if you think Dave can walk on water, or you just want to max out your 401k and not think, don't call me, because I'm not your guy.
That's right. Curtis, you're the guy that's going to hold us all accountable. So we love that. Thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you so much, Curtis.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun.
I'm actually going to get on my phone and text 55444. I'm going to text BETHEBANK. Thanks for watching this episode. Now, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we'll see you next time.